What invention are you surprised that it hasn't been created yet? Story 1. I know if this thread picks up pace, that this comment will be eaten alive by smart people either pointing out that I'm wrong or explaining why it's the only realistic way. Bring it on. Explain it to my mind. I'm surprised we haven't come up with a better way of generating electricity than finding various ways to make a turbine move. Wind equals sign turning a turbine. Fossil fuels equals sign making a turbine turn by burning stuff to heat water. Nuclear equals sign heat up water to move a turbine. Hydroelectric equals sign moving water makes turbine turn. Solar equals sign maybe the exception to the rule, who knows? My non-scientific mind just imagines that if humans are still around in 1,000 years, they'll talk about how for centuries we spent our time thinking up a myriad different ways to make a turbine move instead of thinking outside of the box. So come on, brainy people, think outside of the box and work out some Star Trek already. Everyone's saying fusion is the future, but if it's another fancy way of making a turbine move, even if it's fully renewable and saves humanity, I'll still be kind of low-key disappointed. Story 2. You know how in airplanes you can press a button and an attendant will come to you? Why can't this be done in restaurants? How much more efficient and convenient would it be if you didn't have to try to look out for the server and try to catch their eye if you were able to just press a button and know that you would be attended to? Answer. I would much rather have this than the cavalcade of waiters and waitresses coming to ask if you're doing okay. My wife and I just finished eating at one of those restaurants where they don't have someone specific assigned to your table. So folks are just walking around asking if they can get you anything. The problem is you end up with someone asking you every 2 minutes if you need something. No, leave me the alone so I can eat my meal and talk to my wife. Story 3. A button in your car or on your key fob that perfectly lowers all the windows in the car so there is a 1/4 inches gap. Just enough to let air in, but not enough so that security is an issue. I am sick and tired of fighting my automatic windows every time I want to leave a window cracked in the summer, or because my car smells like food and needs to air out. And I can't be the only one who thinks this would be an awesome feature in cars. Story 4. Something that helps you wake up, sort of like a full-grown, adult-sized rocking cradle that gently over the course of 10 minutes rocks you awake. Maybe it blows a mist of fresh coffee smell in your face at the same time, with soothing music and slowly increasing lighting and vibrations like magic fingers, all kinds of stuff going on. Story 5. A navigation app that actually tells me what hotels, restaurants, or gas stations are on my actual route. So when it's 11:58 p.m., and I've been driving from Ohio to Florida for the past 9 hours, and now I'm somewhere in the middle of the mountains in North Carolina and would really like to find a hotel to stop for the night, it will tell me there's a hotel in 14 miles along I-77, which I'm traveling on, and not that there's a hotel 14 miles away, but I need to exit at Dooley-Ard, then turn left and drive for 31 minutes on State Route 182818, then right on County Road 2636314 or whatever. Story 6. A standardized system that collects data on people like height, weight, blood type, ethnicity, diet, etc., and medical issues, and how medical issues were resolved, so that in time, one could go in and find 100 people who match all of your variables, see if any of them had the same issue, and what the issue was, how it was solved. Story 7. A music player that you can pick degrees of separation. Let me explain it this way. Eric Clapton was in the Yardbirds, so if I wanted to, I would set 2 degrees of separation to play Eric Clapton music. And since Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page were also in the Yardbirds, I could get music from them and Led Zeppelin. He was also in Blind Faith and Derek and the Dominoes. Stevie Winwood was also in Derek and the Dominoes, so I would get that music too. Ideally, you'd be able to play music that had the same music producer and get all the songs a certain producer worked on. I would imagine it would be built around a music version of IMDb, but it seems like it could be done. Story 8. Good training entertainment software for adults. Kids probably aren't interested, so not even going to go there. But using the Connect or something like that, hardcore training programs like golfing, fishing, tennis, flying a basic Cessna or Bell helicopter good enough to qualify for actual seat hours, cooking, painting, drawing, sailing, karate, maintaining and firing a pistol, learning an instrument, or whatever. The idea is an expert would walk you through the actual physical motions they do, and then you practice the same motion step by step until you can confidentially replicate the experience at home, and only then go to the wherever to do the C-Tula whatever. Story 9. Reverse eBay. It's getting crazy with contractors and mechanics when it comes to bill shock. The client has to spend ages calling different mobs for coots and call out fees for assessments. My idea is start a bidding war between companies for jobs to be done. From having your driveway paved, Clean out your washer ducts. Need 4 new tires from a certain brand. Let the companies fight for your work by outbidding each other with lower prices. Maybe you just want lunch for under $10, have a bunch of restaurants in the area, bid to make you something that you then go in and redeem your meal. Maybe you want a new TV. Specify size and have a heap of companies make you offers. Story 10. A simple website where you put in your medical symptoms and it suggests all of the possible diseases or conditions you have, including the extremely rare ones that only one other person in recorded medical history have had. It wouldn't diagnose or prescribe anything or do anything more than list the possible ones. With the list in hand, you Google and then present your doctor with the list at appointment time. This could really be helpful for those rare conditions that few have, but a viable treatment exists. Story 11. Honestly, a good automatic laundry folder would be a game changer. I mean, we have all these cool gadgets, but folding laundry is still a pain. Can you imagine just tossing your clothes in and having them come out all neatly folded? I'd pay for that. Story 12. An easily accessible foot shelf for prosthetics. We have all this 3-days printer technology at our fingertips, but no one has bothered to make one that doesn't require a 5-pound shoehorn and a whole lot of gusto to pry off a prosthetic foot. The shell acts as protection to the actual prosthetic foot. It fills out the shoe and allows for barefoot walking. And it gets filled with all sorts of BS just from use every day. If people could clean that themselves, it would mean less prosthetic appointments for an individual. It would mean equipment being kept functional and lasting longer. But companies and universities doesn't seem to care. They want a big breakthrough, not some lowly foot shell. And so here we are. Story 13. HUD for cars' windshields. You get your usual sandbox notifications, but on the whole screen, you can see directions, a minimap, notifications, etc. Some of them only visible on red lights. Everything else is not shown while driving, only some visual hints like Google Maps directions. Story 14. It's a very fun and interesting question, so I was kind of surprised we don't yet have a universal translator like in Star Trek, where you can understand and speak any language instantly. That would just be fantastic about traveling and linking to people from other cultures. Story 15. A refrigerator oven that keeps food cold until time to bake it. Stick a roaster full of meat in machine on Friday. Come back from vacation Sunday night to fresh cooked pot roast. Stick a frozen pizza in the morning. Hot, awful pizza when you get home from work. Story 16. Celiac cure, gluten stabilizer of some sort. The research into celiac disease is only in its beginning stages, but the fact that lactose-intolerant people have a pill they can take to digest dairy, but gluten-sensitive celiac people don't makes me so jealous. I miss eating normal food. Story 17. We've bred domesticated animals for thousands of years, starting with livestock, and now we have dogs and cats of all shapes and sizes. So why have we not bred bears to be smaller house pets? Who wouldn't want a pet bear that doesn't get over 75 pounds? Imagine having a cute little bear buddy that romps and rolls all over the place, loves tummy scratches, and snuggles with you. Story 18. A washing machine that functions as a clothes dryer too. Put the dirty clothes in. Come back an hour later and they are clean and dry. Please don't say they already make this. When you can pick from 12 different units that cost under $1,000 at Lowe's, we can consider them invented. Story 19. Ha! Nice try, thief. Seriously, though, a sleep apnea-style mask that pumps mist, but with medicine you could add to the reservoir. Imagine having a cold, sore throat and keep it all moist, while also getting antibiotics or some other medicine you need while you sleep or rest. Story 20. Okay, you know those removable baby gates that create a barrier to stop kids from leaving or entering a room? Something like that, but it's a removable handrail that goes on a staircase to make it safer for toddlers to go up and down stairs. I've seen my young nieces and nephews who are fully ambulatory still struggle up and down stairs because they can't reach the handrail and so can't easily stabilize themselves going from step to step. Edit. This thread seems like someone looking for ideas to steal. Please feel free to take this one. Story 21. I mistype on my phone all the time. I have small hands and hold my device at an angle. Why can't I choose a sentence to follow, attempt to type it, and have an AI ergonomically adjust the spacing positioning of the keys to where I try to press them? On a computer keyboard, I can type 140 WPM easily. I'm annoyed anytime I text on a touchscreen. My fingers are not the issue. Let me adjust my touchscreen keyboard positioning. Story 22. Gut biome pills so you can eat local food on vacation. Why the governments of Mexico and India haven't started making these, I have no idea. Tourism would go up tenfold. Just find whatever it is that lets locals drink the water and eat the food safely and sell it. Story 23. A way to deliver low amounts of power wirelessly around a room, like where you can hang up a wall clock or something like that anywhere in the room, and never have to worry about it losing power. Also, why don't more devices like radios, media players, appliances, whatnot, use those coin batteries to save settings? Just put the battery in a place where it can be changed quickly and easily, and not buried inside a case on the motherboard. Also, regarding clocks, how about ones that auto-set to GPS time or something like that? Story 24. Well, if you wait long enough, I said for years, decades, that I wish someone would invent a battery like a car battery that you could just plug things into. I wanted it for warming a crock pot on the back of a truck in the middle of nowhere. Lunch. So a couple of years ago, here it is. My Jackery. Guess what? I've used it much more when the power goes out. Power my lamey. Power out. WTF am I going to do but read? Charge the phone. It has 2 plugs and 2 USB ports. It kept its charge percent 100 from a year ago. And this past hurricane, I'm telling all my friends to get one for under $200. So dreams really do come true. Story 25. So simple and is already invented but not implemented. Need an audio buffer for live radio broadcasts similar to buffering over the internet for streaming services, for example, Netflix. There are so many times when either I'm not really listening or I miss the beginning of news or something, and wouldn't it be nice to rewind like a DVR? Either there is no market demand or the extra $2 in chips and software changes isn't worth it. ETA. Most broadcasts are digital, aren't they? And if not, convert it to digital and store it. Story 26. I feel like we're closer than we think to being able to read our dreams and control them. I think a tech like that would change our world completely, with people choosing to stay in a dream state they can control. The only other thing is smart glasses with decent battery that lets you watch YouTube in AR. That's something I've always wanted, especially if you could pair your glasses with others to watch the same thing, regardless of where you are. There's no way that's not going to be prominent in the next 5 years. Story 27. We had these badass pencil boxes in the 1980s. They still make them, but they were a big trend when I was a kid. They were very complex and had multiple compartments and buttons on them that made accessories pop out like a pencil sharpener, calculator, and mirror. All my life I've wanted that, but for adults, like a purse that has a bunch of different functions and compartments. I'd probably be the only person to buy one, but I want someone to make that. Story 28. I swore there was a movie or something that had a device that allowed you to see all the different waves that are in the air, like IR, Wi-Fi, cellular, radio, etc., etc., but it feels like a fever dream. So that's my answer, in hopes someone knows what I'm talking about or can tell me there already is such a device. Story 29. Physics might prove an issue, hence why it's not invented. Buy a reverse microwave. Instead of heating up, you can instantly cool it down, though that requires breaking basic thermodynamics, so figure that one out for me, nerds. Secondly, an app that shows you available parking spaces nearby in real time. Story 30. IDK why they haven't made cars out of Nerf material yet. There's an answer to everything that could be an issue. Cars would be bigger in size, yes, and that would cause the need for wider roads. We widen roads all the time. We just have to start. Nerf material can get waterlogged, so we'd need to protect it with metal or something. It's probably easily flammable, so the Nerf material would need to be protected from the engine, but that's not a big deal either. It's doable, and now we have bumper cars instead of speeding bullets. Working out these logistics would save countless lives. Story 31. Safer batteries for RC cars. I've had like 6 or so blow up on me, and I'm sick of the proprietary. Like, you can either run a proprietary system and have an integrated balance lead, or go with an external balance lead and be able to run whatever connectors you want. I went the second route because I like to heavily mod my cars, plus the proprietary batteries are garbage usually. Story 32. Really, really good batteries. I guess that's not an invention, but an improvement. Don't get me wrong. Batteries have improved in my lifetime. Lion batteries became mainstream, but they're only a little better than old school cell batteries. I'm talking like multitudes better than cell batteries in terms of energy density. That's what I want to see. Story 33. A way for surfers to know when a shark is nearby. Or conversely, reliable shark deterrence through sound waves, smells, etc. I'm just brainstorming, so I have no idea the impact or validity of any of this. Would just be nice to spend time in the ocean without the fear of Jaws coming for you. Story 34. Artificial limbs that can act and function like a real arm using nerves and the brain to move. I'm not talking like an arm for Bucky Barnes or the Reavers in X-Men, but something that would make people with chronic pain in limbs actively opt for the robotic limb and not lose a bit of function. I've seen there's prototypes and we're close, but it still seems something set for the 2030s where it's commonplace. Story 35. Heart boots. Contracting your calf muscles squeezes the veins there and returns blood to your heart. The veins have one-way valves, so walking can help your blood circulate back up from your feet. If there were an air bulb in the heel of a boot that transferred its air to the walls of the boot when the heel presses down, It would squeeze the calf with every step, like having another heart. Story 36. Some sort of tool, weapon that can disrupt tornadoes. I can't help think there must be ways to disrupt, and in many cases at least temporarily collapse the physical phenomenon of a tornado, or alter the associated supercell structure in a way that achieves the same. Maybe it will take the technological jump of being able to manipulate gravity before we are able to do something like this. Small localized pulse that disrupts and greatly dissolves the air columns. But maybe there are clever ways of using the energy and electromagnetic systems we currently engineer and use. Story 37. Replacement discs for your back. What's naturally in there is basically just a bunch of gel-filled pads, but the gel gets hard over time and they wear out. I think there are some products in development, but spinal fusions are still the predominant way of dealing with worn-out discs. Story 38. Okay, so you know how they sell hairbands with rubbery silicone stuff on the inside to make them stay in your hair better? Well, same concept, but big enough to go around a mattress to help keep the bottom sheet on longer. The only solution I've ever found to this problem is using jersey sheets, and none of the other options, corner elastics, those elastic straps, etc., have truly worked. The sides will still try to pull up after a few days. Surely adding some kind of non-slip material around the edges would help. Story 39. I'm willing to bet this exists. PR will very soon, but you know how Google Maps will turn red if you speed? Or how DoorDash will give you a summary of Quike acceleration and hard brakes? I expect soon that it will tied legally. You'll get speeding tickets sent to your house for speeding. Google Maps will end up reporting you. A ticket will be sent to whatever your address is linked to Google, Amazon, etc. Maybe DMV will get summaries and refuse to reissue your license if you have too many hard brakes in a 6-month period or something. For things I'm surprised don't actually exist yet. Speeders. From Star Wars, basically hovercrafts. Turn it on with electricity or solar and it would create some sort of magnetic repulsion to lift your vehicle 3 feet or so off the ground. Then you could go anywhere. No roads or ever land required. Story 40. More local garbage processing. Maybe automated communal container-scale garbage units that compost kitchen waste, paper and cardboard, and garden waste to be distributed locally in suburban districts. Reduce garbage to be shipped over distances in heavy trucks. Could also reduce the need for buying soil additives for home gardens, which is also shipped around in heavy trucks. Story 41. An actual route planning app. I don't want to know what the traffic at the place I'm going to pass in 3 hours is now. I want to know what it's going to be in 3 hours. Or what it most likely is based on historical traffic data, or tomorrow or next week if I'm pre-planning. I know that it looks like smooth driving on the road leading out of town now, but now is midday. It's probably going to be different at rush hour. Maybe I want to take an alternative route then. I also would like a way to plan refueling stops. I heard Teslas have that for superchargers. I'd like that for petrol stations. Include historical price data and ratings for the food options around them and give me 2 or 3 options for routes. And if we go totally crazy, include my fuel efficiency. Is it faster to go slower, more efficient, and make it on one tank or go pedal to the metal and refuel? Add a weather feature. I have that on a hiking app where it is more important, I grant you. But I'd still think it'd be cool if my route planner could tell me what the weather's going to be at the different points along my route. Maybe I'm not going to take the scenic route if it's going to be raining when I get there. Maybe I'll leave an hour later if it means I don't have to drive in the rain. And anyway, give me options for a scenic route. Give me the option to drive a circular route there and back, instead of the same way in both directions if I want to. Story 42. A service like Telcom Fitness, phones, that will take your insurance policies and compare them with other insurance policies to get the best deal. They will also make sure you are insured for the things you have correctly, instead of just hoping your insurance agent isn't cheating out of something, and also reassessing your insurance based on inflation, current home or auto values, etc. If they save you money, you pay. If they don't, no paying. I also want this for medical bills. Someone to review mine and tell me if I am getting overcharged or if the insurance company should be paying more, or if I got charged later due to readjustments or review, but it's next year now, so I haven't met my deductible and now I have to pay. Things like that. Story 43. You know how microwaves heat things up really fast? I've always wondered why they haven't developed an opposite appliance that would cool things down really fast. It would be awesome to be able to make ice in 5 minutes or cool a can of pop in 30 seconds. ETA. After reading a bunch of comments, I see people referring to blast chillers that actually do this. Unfortunately, they appear to cost anywhere from a couple $1,000s to the cost of a small car. So how about a blast chiller that costs about the same as a microwave and is about the same size? It would sell like hotcakes. Story 44. An inexpensive adrenaline injector. It's tech from like 40 years ago, and they keep adding non-improving elements to puppyguard the patent, therefore monopolizing. And the lobbying. You EpiPen manufacturers. $100 for something that should be used often since I'm allergic to soy, and it's everywhere but have to conserve them and ride out reactions since I'm not rich. Story 45. A perpetual ice maker. A device that can be connected to tap water and boil it and filter it, or bottled water if you have a gallon available, and freeze it into cubes or the shape of your preference. It'd be so convenient, especially for people in warm regions who constantly add ice cubes to their drinks. We do have the technology. Why hasn't it been invented? Story 46. I'm just disappointed that the machines that can filter out filthy water into usable drinkable water isn't accessible to all of us at this point. We deserve clean water. My own water has tasted like pond for the last year, and we cannot use it. We also got the results testing our water in the mail, and it indicates that our water can cause cancer. Life is expensive enough. Even bottled water has gone up. This is all a setup. No conspiracy theories necessary. There's no reason any of us should be drinking out OD 60-year-old pipes. This is in Alabama. Story 47. Biodiesel electric hybrid cars and trucks with electric motors, a diesel fuel tank, and a biodiesel generator that comes on and provides enough power to both run the car at 85 plus miles per hour and recharge the battery at the same time. I'd set it to start generating when the battery's down to 20 to 25%. It shut down to straight electric once the battery's recharged. It's not even new tech. German U-boats in WW1 and WW2 were diesel electric. They'd surface and run under diesel power while recharging the batteries and then submerge and go hunting afterwards. Modern diesel electric locomotives use the same tech. Imagine filling up with 20 gallons of used cooking oil and getting 200 plus mpg from it. That'd be 4,000 miles on a tank with very little emissions because the diesel generator only runs when recharging. Also, make it a plug-in hybrid. You can charge overnight while at home. Story 48. 2-minute noodles with an added pheromone dispenser that triggers once the noodles have been consumed. As soon as the noodles are gone, a pheromone dispenser lets out an invisible puff of pheromones, which attracts the desired depending on the flavor of the noodles. Story 49. Something I haven't seen yet is an automatic dishwasher emptier, alternatively, an automatic laundry machine set. Basically just a robot that will empty your dishes from the dishwasher and put them away, or one that you can give a laundry basket to, and it will do the laundry for you. Would save a lot of time for people and would allow disabled people easier ways to do their laundry, especially thinking the bending over required to use the front load machines. Story 50. An app that allows you to take specific episodes from different streaming services that you are paying for and create your own TV lineups. For example, maybe you want to recreate a Friday night from 1990, so you might find an old episode of Full House, Perfect Strangers, etc. You could also create a channel that anyone who also was a subscriber could view. Story 51. A printer that produces the paper as it prints, like a laser and resin does with 3-days printers, or a small roll of paper rather than individual sheets, and cheaper laserjet technology. Just everything about printers is stuck in the past because innovation would ruin their crazy profit margins. Story 52. A good Reddit search function. No, Googling a term and adding Reddit does not come close. I'm talking about something at least as fine-grained as Twitter's, where you can search for interactions between two users that used a particular word on a particular day 7 years ago. Story 53. One invention that surprises me for not being fully realized yet is truly efficient wireless electricity transmission. While wireless charging exists for small devices like phones and some electric vehicles, the idea of transmitting large-scale power over distances without wires still seems like science fiction. Story 54. We already have film on boxes to get a better crust on microwave pizza and Hot Pockets. Why don't we have sleeves similar to Hot Pocket sleeves but sized for corn dogs, so microwaved corn dogs are crispier? Also, a head-worn display that compresses a 360 view within your normal field of view. Story 55. Why do we scroll on our phones by literally covering the screen with greasy ass fingers and always have our thumbs on the view? Make it so your phone recognizes the not moving digits, or you set an area and the moving finger on the back lets you scroll or be a cursor. This seems so obvious. Story 56. Space habitats with rotational gravity, space-based solar energy, maglev vacuum space cannons, space elevator, orbital ring, etc. A lot of that stuff is totally possible. Mankind just doesn't do it yet. See Isaac Arthur on YouTube for more such ideas. Also, floating cities or underwater cities absolutely not out of reach technological, and the oceans offer incredible amounts of space and resource. Robots that can rearrange themselves to form new maps in paintball/laser tag games, etc. Rotor sails. Flettner rotor everywhere. Fully automated sailing machines that could save plenty of fuel. Well, slowly they are coming now, but it takes surprisingly long. Good 3D displays that require no glasses and offer excellent image quality. Story 57-1. An Outlook meetings organizer that checks the calendar of all the people invited to the meeting and automatically finds the best possible time slot for a meeting in a vacant meeting room. 2. A context-based spelling app for mobiles that understands when you mistype something based on the context. Now it just reacts when you type a non-existing word, not when you type an actual word, even though grammatically it makes no sense. Story 58. Bots everywhere. As a kid in the 70s, I thought there would be bots on the side of the road mowing the grass, trimming back undergrowth, getting pictures of litterers so that they can be fined and then picking up their trash. Instead, we have robot vacuums that smear cat poop everywhere while the cat rides it in triumph. Story 59. A machine that not only washes laundry, but also automatically transfers the load to the dryer and dries the clothes. It would eliminate the hassle of switching laundry between machines, making the process completely hands-off and efficient. A device designed specifically to dry shoes quickly after coming in from snowy environments. It's frustrating to walk through snow, only to have a puddle form around your feet when you sit inside. A quick drying solution for shoes would be a game changer in cold climates. Story 60. A new Concorde. I understand it's on its way, but I feel like this should have happened years ago. Personally, I imagine a fleet of fast-moving aircraft that take people from one continent to another in 4 hours. I can't understand how after experiencing that, people said, yeah, I'll take a 13-hour fight instead. Story 61. A way for consumers to recycle polystyrene packaging. Background. Polystyrene is actually highly recyclable. The problem is that most polystyrene packaging is actually expanded polystyrene, EPG, which is pumped up with air. So recycling EPG ends up with a tiny amount of actual polystyrene. So little that if you've transported it anywhere with the air still in it, it's just not worth bothering. You can squeeze the air out, but only a big industrial press can squeeze hard enough. If you take the EPG to somewhere where there is an industrial press that is transporting it, and so wipes out the value. So the only EPG that's recycled is from big companies that have their own industrial presses. Surely with motor technology, it's not impossible to make something individuals can use to squeeze out that air, or make EPG where it's easier to remove the air. Story 62. I can't believe there's no universal translator yet. We have AI that can recognize my face, suggest memes, and probably predict my life choices. But somehow, talking to my French aunt is still like deciphering ancient hieroglyphs without Google Translate. It's 2024, and I still have to wave my arms around like I'm playing charades to communicate with my neighbor. Come on, tech wizards. Story 63, playlists for TV. Come on, Netflix/Hulu/Amazon/Tubi/HBO/Roku/Freevee/WTF else. Phone games for Netflix? That was interactive in the wrong direction. They should have a personality test or a what do I want to watch LOL quiz you can take for it to recommend new stuff to you. You should be able to make your own channel of TV and not have to manually choose random episodes, but have it shuffle them in. Come on, all the pieces already exist, just no one's cut the cord on doing it. What would it even cost them? It feels so obvious to me. I'm annoyed it's not already a thing. Story 64. Given the number of herpes-adjacent infections and the prodigious infection rate, a vaccine for herpes family viruses would be pretty cool. Herpes simplex 1 and 2, chickenpox, Epstein-Barr, mononucleosis, probably others. Chronic breakouts on the face and genitals, late-life recurrence of shingles and chickenpox cases, and several troubling indications in EBV from chronic fatigue all the way up to MS, as well as a tenuous connection to neurodegenerative cognitive impairments would seem to be significant economic motivators for a cure or effective prevention method. Yet here we sit with 75% of the global population carrying herpes simplex virus and nothing coming in the foreseeable future. Story 65. A car that allows you to go to sleep and safely arrive at your destination. Yeah, people do it in Teslas, but it's not safe at all. An RV that you just punched in the address and went about your day would be awesome. Take a nap, watch a movie, work out, and before you know it, you're at the Grand Canyon. Watch the sunset, eat dinner, and punch in the address for Caesar's Palace before heading to bed. Wake up in Vegas. Story 66 app or website that helps you speedrun school. Most countries who have a final exam at the end of high school, which is necessary to get into certain careers, also allows any person outside of a high school to attempt the exam, regardless of age or profession. It's originally meant for adults who didn't go to school at all, But nothing prevents you to attempt the exam at 9yo. Maybe like an app that gamifies learning, similar to Brilliant, but only for the exact topics that will be on the exam. If you told my 12yo self that there is a website where you can train to pass the final exam without wasting 5 other years to have the possibility to attempt it, I would have been the most studious and determined mofo on this planet. But the things they learn in school are useful. Yes, everyone agrees that most of what you learn at school is useful. Math teaches you how to think logical. Literature teaches how to write and structure your thought process, etc. But the problem is how it is thought. In classrooms packed with kids of heterogeneous level, underpaid and undertrained teachers, hours that are copied on office hours which are unnatural for kids. It's not efficient, but kids need to go to school to learn how to socialize. You do learn a lot in school, but there is 1,000 ways kids can socialize outside of school. In the same vein, I wonder what would happen if you told kids, if your grades are higher than 90%, you can skip school 1 day per week. Do you think it would improve or decreases grades? Story 67. The ability to transmit electricity wirelessly over long distances. That technology will be coupled with solar panels in space that will provide clean energy to the entire Earth all the time. Everything on Earth that needs electricity will always have it. There will no longer be a need for batteries or gasoline. All the barriers to power and clean energy will be gone, and power will be virtually limitless and free for anyone and everything that needs it. Story 68. A weight-based monitor for child car seats/boosters. Capsules with the facility to alert nominated phone numbers and emergency services. Once the car stops, allow no more than X minutes for wait to leave. If wait doesn't leave, start auto call system. Next theme. What's an insignificant thing that always makes you angry? Story 1. ASMR commercials, namely the ones where they focus on the sound a product makes, especially food ones. Pepsi Coke commercials do this a lot. They overemphasize the fizzy noises and then will have a disgusting swallowing noise followed by an exaggerated ah. I have no idea why this makes me so angry, but it does. Story 2. When people see someone they know out in public and decide to have a gab fest in the middle of a doorway, aisle, sidewalk, or other walkway, when there are actual places for them to sit or stand, and they just completely block the way for people. Story 3. All of the goddamn overpackaging and plastic in the world, but especially in grocery stores. Potatoes don't need to be individually wrapped. And why does my glass bottle have a plastic lid? Why is it so hard to just use more sustainable packaging options like metal, glass, or cardboard, or maybe something biodegradable? Goddamn. Corporations need to get their together and stop trying to push the need to be environmentally conscious onto the consumer, which is a whole other thing that pisses me off. Story 4. Getting my damn sock wet walking around inside, being too hot or too cold, no happy medium, getting comfortable in bed, then needing to pee, when Siri cuts out the best part of the song when using maps, and lastly, just straight up stupidity. The type that's like, how TF did you make it this far? Story 5. People who get on the workout machine right next to me when there are a dozen others of the same type that are empty. I used to go to the gym religiously super early before work when it was almost empty. I switched gyms after this kept happening. It was always gross and/or older men. They wouldn't do anything, so there was nothing for me to legitimately complain about, but it would give me such a gross feeling. I would have my earphones in with angry music playing loud because I hate the gym and had no interest in having an unnecessary conversation while I was there. Yet here comes homeboy to take a lazy stroll on the treadmill next to me like he's looking for an opportunity. Edited for clarity. Story 6. People who make right turns from the right traffic lane at a glacially slow pace. I'm not asking you to take the turn on 2 wheels like a stunt car, but for the love of driving, you do not need to slow down to a complete stop in a traffic lane to make a right-hand turn into a parking lot. Story 7. Oh, you know those tiny plastic things that hold your bread bag shut? I mean, who decided they needed to be so ridiculously hard to open? It's like they're training for the Olympics of frustration. Like 1 minute I'm just trying to make a sandwich, and the next I'm in a battle with a twist tie like it's a villain in an action movie, lol. Story 8. Slow walking. I'm not talking about people with disabilities, the elderly, etc. The ones who just slowly amble along the footpath/aisle/whatever, just center enough that you can't get around them. Bonus points if they're with someone and walking side by side. The lack of self-awareness is rage-inducing. Story 9. People backing into parking spaces at shopping centers. Let me wait for you to inch in reverse because you really suck at it, but just have to do it. And now here come all the BS excuses about how it's safer, faster, blah, blah, when in reality it's an idiosyncrasy which you feel others must tolerate, as it takes most people twice as long to back into a parking space than to back out into the much, much wider aisle between 2 rows of spaces. Let the haters rain their hate. Story 10 ads, and paying for things like streaming services and cable TV just to get more ads, or unskippable ads. Ads talking about anal leakage while I'm trying to enjoy a football game, followed by ads trying to make people gamble their way to bankruptcy. And you and your perky attitude, Jan. Story 11, being late. And I'm not saying being late, as in there's an accident on your way or your car won't start, there's a flat tire, etc. That is understandable. I'm talking about knowing you have to be somewhere at specific time, and you still manage to be like 10, 15 minutes late. There's no reason for this, and there is no excuse. Every smartphone has an alarm clock. Every smartwatch has an alarm clock. You can download an alarm clock app. You can buy an alarm clock if you want to go old school. I do not understand how people are incapable of looking at a clock or setting an alarm and arriving someplace at a reasonable time. Like my band director always said, if you're on time, you're late. Story 12. People who don't get what personal space is, like when you are waiting in line and someone is right up your ass. So you try to move up a bit to get away from them and they just move up with you. If I can feel your breath, you are too close. The worst was this bitch who kept putting her hand on my back trying to push me forward in a place so crowded there was physically nowhere for me to move. My mom had to physically grab me and swap spots with me after I told this lady to stop touching me twice. The third time my mom saw I was about to loose I came so close to just backhanding this lady, but all I got out before my mom switched places with me was touch me one more time. And that is why I no longer go to crowded places. Story 13. When I'm walking my dog and some other dog walker, usually an old lady, comes by and is like, ooh, let them meet, when I try to pull my dog away from hers. If I still try to pull away, they will come after and say, oh, come on, man, let them meet. He won't bite, like IDKU or your dog from anywhere. I don't know if you vaccinate it, use anti-pest products on it, etc. So no, if I don't want our dogs to meet, I will pull mine away and carry on with my day. Story 14. When I'm pushed to fabricate fake enthusiasm. Here's a couple examples. When a presenter gets in front of the crowd and says, is everyone excited tonight? Pause for lackluster applause. I can't hear you. When you're at a sporting event and Make Some Noise comes up on the big screen at a completely random time that makes no sense. Story 15. There's this tiny little moped that drives around the roads surrounding my campus and dorm, and it's got the highest pitched engine I've ever heard. It's so annoying, and I want to drop it into the lake and punch the person riding it in the face. It always drives by at such an inconvenient time. Dozing off to take a cat nap in my bed? Zoom. Enjoying the nice outdoors around campus? Neum. Studying or doing homework in the library? You guessed it, moped guy is cruising by. I hate that stupid moped with a passion. Story 16. When I'm waiting patiently for the green man at a pedestrian crossing after having just pressed the button, and then someone else comes along and presses the button again. Like, you know what? I was looking forward to just waiting at the crossing all day and not pressing the button. Thanks so much. Story 17. People who take forever at a coffee shop deciding what to order. Like you're standing in line for 10 minutes and still can't figure out if you want a latte or a cappuccino. It's coffee, not a life decision. It's the small inefficiencies that expose the bigger underlying problem. People not living in the moment, distracted even by the simplest choices. Makes you wonder what else they're asleep to. Story 18. My ex-husband has become an alcoholic, and the sound of him drinking whiskey in a big glass of ice triggers me. Also, he watches YouTube and recently started laughing really loud, like outlandishly loud. He's also ruined bass for me because he blasts music in his room on a huge speaker against the wall with the bass all the way up. He's moving out tomorrow. I needed to vent LOL. Story 19. When my stapler runs out of staples. It usually happens when I have half a dozen different little bits of paper that I've carefully tidied up. I have to let go of my stack to put more staples in the stapler, and then I have to spend more time tidying up my papers again. I'm a bookkeeper and often have stacks of receipts, adding machine tapes and regular letter-size printouts to staple together in neat little bundles. Story 20. People obviously looking at their phones when the left turn signal goes green. Then they drive through the yellow arrow, which is turning quickly because the sensors think nobody is moving, so they're the only ones who get through the light. Story 21. When I plug something in that's almost dead and it doesn't charge for hours because it wasn't the right temperature that day or some Like, I gotta have my Chromebook at 100% for every day, or that for gonna die in 2 minutes. This always happens with official cords from the actual company too. Not the secondhand stuff that uses real metal instead of plant-based metal or whatever that weak stuff they use is. Story 22. When someone throws away the end of my food, doesn't matter if it looked kinda nasty or was just 2 bites or the open crackers were stale, let me decide to toss them. I get enraged when I'm going the dishes and find someone's decided the last 1/2 cup of my pricey allergy-friendly crackers are drowned in someone's coffee because they helpfully tidied up the counter/fridge/cupboard/pantry/etc. Keep your paws off my food. I don't care if it's nasty and I'm not going to eat it unless it has literal mold all over it. Leave it. Story 23. When you are in an elevator and the person standing in front of the buttons is playing with their phone and not pressing the closed door button or the button to the lobby, which is where everyone is obviously going, a million people keep coming into the elevator because no presses the goddammit button. If you stand there, it is your responsibility to man the button panel. Sheesh. It really annoys me. Happens daily. When I manage to stand there, I do the job. Story 24. Printers not operating how I expect them to. I often accidentally print double-sided documents with the flip on the short edge, no matter how many times I save my printer settings. Then one time, I accidentally selected mirror image when trying to just adjust the color settings a bit. I thought I was having a stroke when my copy came out of the machine in total reverse. Paper jam? I'm about to lose my lid. Document mysteriously prints on a giant piece of paper, so big that I didn't even know we had that big of paper in the Xerox. Hell no. Where did you even come from? I would consider myself mostly tech-savvy. I'm not a complete, but printers, printer settings, and Xerox machines just humble me way often than they should.